Most people feel confident until they see questions like these. 41 hard Pennsylvania permit test questions. Timer starts now. What happens to fines for traffic violations occurring in active work zone areas? A. They are waived for first-time offenders. B. They remain the same. C. They are doubled. D. They are tripled. The correct answer is C. They are doubled. According to the manual, in addition, fines will be doubled for traffic violations occurring in work zone areas. Let's move to the next one. If you are pulled over for a traffic violation in a work zone and your vehicle's headlights are not turned on, what is the additional fine? A. $50. B. $15. C. $100. D. $25. Excellent! The right answer is D. $25. Here is why. If you are pulled over by police for a traffic violation in a work zone and your vehicle's headlights are not turned on, you will be fined an additional $25. Let's move to the next one. Exceeding the 15 miles per hour speed limit in a school zone will result in a fine, and how many points on your driving record? A. 3 points. B. 2 points. C. 4 points. D. 5 points. You got it! The answer is A. 3 points. The law states that exceeding the speed limit in a school zone will result in 3 points on your driving record, and you will also be fined. Let's move to the next one. Under Pennsylvania's anti-texting law, violating the ban on texting while driving carries what fine upon conviction? A. $250. B. $25. C. $100. D. $50. That's right, it's D. $50. This is because violating the law is a primary, summary offense with convictions carrying a $50 fine. Let's move to the next one. What is the fine for a first-time offense of failing to move over or slow down for an emergency response area? Move over law. A. Up to $1,000. B. Up to $250. C. Up to $500. D. Up to $100. The answer is C. Up to $500. Well done if you got that. The reason is, failure to move over or slow down can result in a summary offense that carries a fine of up to $500 for a first offense. Let's move to the next one. Under the move over law, if a violation leads to the serious bodily injury or death of another person, not an emergency responder, what is the maximum fine? A. $5,000. B. $500. C. $2,000. D. $1,000. Nailed it if you said D. $1,000. According to the manual, if the violation of this law leads to the serious bodily injury or to death of another person, a 90-day license suspension will be imposed, and a fine of up to $1,000 could result. Let's move to the next one. If you violate the move over law and it results in the death of an emergency responder, you could face a 1-year suspension and a fine up to A. $1,000, B. $10,000, C. $2,500, D. $5,000. If you said B. $10,000, you are absolutely correct. Here is why. If the violation of this law leads to the death of an emergency responder, a 1-year suspension will be imposed, and a fine of up to $10,000 could result. Let's move to the next one. Driving around or through signs closing a road due to hazardous conditions, like flooded roadways, results in 2 points and a fine up to A. $500, B. $50, C. $100, D. $250. The correct choice here is D. $250. The law states that a conviction for violation of this law results in 2 points added to your driving record and a fine of up to $250. Let's move to the next one. If emergency responders are called out because you drove through a barricade on a flooded roadway, the fine increases to A. Up to $10,000 and 1 year in jail. B. Up to $500 and you must repay emergency response costs. C. Up to $1,000 and you must repay emergency response costs. D. Up to $250 with no additional costs. The correct answer is B. Up to $500, and you must repay emergency response costs. This is because if emergency responders are called out because of your actions, the fine is increased to up to $500, and you will be held liable for repaying the emergency response costs. Let's move to the next one. What is the fine for a first offense of unlawfully parking in a space reserved for persons with disabilities? A. $50 to $200. B. $100 to $300. C. $250 to $500. D. $10 to $50. Excellent! The right answer is A. $50 to $200. The reason is, this parking violation is a summary offense. Individuals convicted of this offense will be fined between $50 and $200. Let's move to the next one. The penalty for fleeing or attempting to elude police is a 1-year suspension of your driving privilege, plus a fine of A. $100, B. $1,000, C. $250, D. $500. You got it! The answer is D. $500. According to the manual, if a driver is convicted of fleeing or attempting to elude police, the penalty is a 1-year suspension of the driving privilege, a fine of $500, plus court costs. Let's move to the next one. What is the fine for an adult convicted of knowingly and intentionally supplying minors with alcohol for the first offense? A. At least $250. B. At least $1,000. C. At least $500. D. At least $750. That's right. It's B. At least $1,000. Here is why. Adults, even parents, who are convicted of knowingly and intentionally supplying minors with alcohol are subject to a fine of at least $1,000 for the first offense. Let's move to the next one. What is the fine for an adult convicted of supplying minors with alcohol for each additional offense after the first? A. $1,000. B. $3,000. C. $5,000. D. $2,500. The answer is D. $2,500. Well done if you got that. The law states that adults are subject to a fine of at least $1,000 for the first offense and $2,500 for each additional offense and face up to 1 year in jail. Let's move to the next one. The chemical test refusal restoration fee for a driver's first offense of refusing a chemical test is A. $250. B. $2,000. C. $500. D. $1,000. Nailed it if you said C. $500. This is because drivers who refuse to submit to a chemical test will be required to pay a chemical test refusal restoration fee. First offense is $500. Let's move to the next one. If a driver refuses a chemical test for a second time, the chemical test refusal restoration fee increases to A. $1,000. B. $750. C. $2,000. D. $500. If you said A. $1,000, you are absolutely correct. The reason is, the chemical test refusal restoration fee for a second offense is $1,000. Let's move to the next one. A violation of the anti-littering law, which includes dropping or throwing waste from a vehicle, can result in a fine of up to A. $200. B. $50. C. $300. D. $100. The correct choice here is C. $300. According to the manual, a violation of this law may result in a fine of up to $300 upon conviction. Let's move to the next one. If a junior driver, under 18, is convicted of driving 26 miles per hour or more over the posted speed limit, what is the mandatory penalty? A. A 60-day suspension and a $500 fine. B. A 90-day suspension of their driving privilege. C. A 30-day suspension and 2 points. D. Immediate revocation of their license until age 18. correct answer is B, a 90-day suspension of their driving privilege. Here's why. The driving privilege of a person under the age of 18 will be suspended if that person accumulates 6 or more points or is convicted of driving 26 miles per hour or more over the posted speed limit. The first suspension will be for a period of 90 days. Let's move to the next one. Under the Move Over law, what is the fine for a third and subsequent offense of failing to move over for an emergency vehicle? A, $5,000. B, $10,000. C, $1,000. D, $2,000. Excellent! The right answer is D, $2,000. The law states that failure to move over or slow down can result in a summary offense that carries a fine of $2,000 for a third and subsequent offense. Let's move to the next one. If you are accepted into the Accelerated Rehabilitative Disposition Program for a DUI, you must pay a fine between $300 and A, $10,000, B, $2,500, C, $5,000, D, $1,000. You got it! The answer is C, $5,000. This is because if you are accepted into the program, you will pay a fine of between $300 and $5,000 in addition to related fees and other costs. Let's move to the next one. A driver convicted of a first offense DUI at the highest rate, which is a BAC of 0.16% or higher, or controlled substances, will face a minimum fine of A, $1,000 to $5,000, B, $300, C, $750, D, $500. That's right, it's A, $1,000 to $5,000. The reason is for a first offense at the highest rate, the fine is $1,000 to $5,000. Let's move to the next one. What happens to the fine if a driver is convicted of a second offense of violating the Move Over law? A, it is up to $2,000. B, it is up to $500. C, it is up to $5,000. D, it is up to $1,000. The answer is D, it is up to $1,000. Well done if you got that. According to the manual, failure to move over or slow down can result in a summary offense that carries a fine of $1,000 for a second offense. Let's move to the next one. In Pennsylvania, if you refuse a chemical test for a third or subsequent time, the restoration fee is A, $5,000, B, $2,000, C, $10,000, D, $1,000. Nailed it if you said B, $2,000. Here is why. The chemical test refusal restoration fee for a third or subsequent offense is $2,000. Let's move to the next one. Which of the following may be placed on the vehicle of a driver convicted of a first-time DUI with a high BAC? A, a mandatory dash camera. B, a permanent speed limiter. C, a special yellow license plate. D, an ignition interlock system. If you said D, an ignition interlock system, you are absolutely correct. The law states that first-time and repeat DUI offenders with high blood alcohol levels and individuals who receive an operating privilege suspension as a result of a chemical test refusal violation will be required to have an ignition interlock system installed. Let's move to the next one. If you are driving near an active work zone, which sign explicitly warns you that fines will be increased? A, active work zone when flashing increased penalties. B, right lane closed 1,000 feet. C, road closed ahead. D, road work ahead. The correct choice here is A, active work zone when flashing increased penalties. This is because the active work zone when flashing increased penalties sign is placed at the beginning of an active work zone to warn drivers. Let's move to the next one. Under the child restraint law, what financial penalty do violators face? A, a warning for the first offense, then a $10 fine. B, a flat fine of $25 with no court costs. C, They may be fined and will be responsible for all court costs. D. A $500 fine and 2 points on their license. The correct answer is C. They may be fined and will be responsible for all court costs. The reason is, under the Child Passenger Protection Act, violators may be fined and will be responsible for all court costs. Let's move to the next one. What is the purpose of the Pennsylvania point system? A. To help to improve driving habits and to ensure safe driving. B. To track vehicle insurance compliance. C. To strictly punish first-time offenders. D. To generate revenue through fines. Excellent! The right answer is A. To help to improve driving habits and to ensure safe driving. According to the manual, the purpose of the point system is to help to improve driving habits and to ensure safe driving. Let's move to the next one. At what point accumulation does PennDOT begin to take corrective action against a driver? A. 3 or more points. B. 8 or more points. C. 12 or more points. D. 6 or more points. You got it. The answer is D. 6 or more points. Here is why. PennDOT begins to take corrective action when a driving record reaches 6 or more points. Let's move to the next one. What happens when a driving record reaches 6 or more points for the first time? A. You must complete 50 hours of community service. B. You will receive a written notice to take a written special point examination. C. You must surrender your license immediately. D. You will receive an automatic 30-day suspension. That's right, it's B. You will receive a written notice to take a written special point examination. The law states that when a driving record reaches 6 or more points for the first time, the driver will receive a written notice to take a written special point examination. Let's move to the next one. If your driving record is reduced below 6 points and then reaches 6 or more points for a second time, what is required? A. Attend a departmental hearing. B. Take a mandatory defensive driving course. C. Have an ignition interlock device installed. D. Pay a $500 restoration fee. The answer is A. Attend a departmental hearing. Well done if you got that. This is because when the driving record is reduced below 6 points and reaches 6 or more points for a second time, the driver will have to attend a departmental hearing. Let's move to the next one. How many points are removed from your driving record for every 12 consecutive months of safe driving? A. 5 points. B. 3 points. C. 2 points. D. All points are removed. Nailed it if you said B, 3 points. The reason is 3 points are removed from a driving record for every 12 consecutive months in which a person is not under suspension or revocation or has not committed any violation. Let's move to the next one. To have points removed from your driving record, what condition must be met for 12 consecutive months? A. You must not be under suspension or revocation and have no point-adding violations. B. You must pay an annual safe driving fee. C. You must complete an approved driver safety course. D. You must drive less than 5,000 miles in the year. If you said A, you must not be under suspension or revocation and have no point-adding violations, you are absolutely correct. According to the manual, 3 points are removed for every 12 consecutive months in which a person is not under suspension or revocation or has not committed any violation, which results in the assignment of points. Let's move to the next one. Once your driving record is reduced to 0 points, how long must it remain at 0 for any new points to be treated as a first accumulation? A. 36 consecutive months. B. 12 consecutive months. C. 6 consecutive months. D. 24 consecutive months. The correct choice here is B, 12 consecutive months. Here is why. Once a driving record is reduced to 0 and remains at 0 points for 12 consecutive months, any further accumulation of points is treated as the first accumulation of points. Let's move to the next one. After your driving privilege is restored following a standard suspension, how many points will your driving record show? A. 0 points. B. 3 points. C. 6 points. D. 5 points. The correct answer is D. 5 points. The law states that after your driving privilege is restored, your driving record will show 5 points, regardless of the number of points that appeared on your record before. Let's move to the next one. Which of the following traffic violations will result in an automatic suspension or revocation of your driving privilege? A. Speeding 5 miles per hour over the limit. B. Racing on highways. C. Parking in a no parking zone. D. Failure to use a turn signal. Excellent! The right answer is B. Racing on highways. This is because your driving privilege will be suspended or revoked if you are convicted of any one of the following traffic violations, including racing on highways. Let's move to the next one. What is the penalty for failure to stop for a school bus with its red lights flashing and stop arm extended? A. A 60-day suspension. B. A 15-day suspension. C. A 90-day suspension. D. A 30-day suspension. You got it! The answer is A. A 60-day suspension. The reason is failure to stop for a school bus with its red lights flashing and stop arm extended leads to a 60-day suspension. Let's move to the next one. What is the mandatory suspension period for failing to comply with a railroad crossing gate or barrier? A. 60-day suspension. B. 30-day suspension. C. 1-year suspension. D. 90-day suspension. That's right. It's B. 30-day suspension. According to the manual, failure to comply with a railroad crossing gate or barrier results in a 30-day suspension. Let's move to the next one. If your driving privilege is going to be suspended, how will you be notified of the effective date? A. A written notice will be mailed to you. B. You will receive an email from PennDOT. C. A police officer will serve you papers. D. You must check your status online. The answer is A. A written notice will be mailed to you. Well done if you got that. Here is why. If your driving privilege is going to be suspended, revoked, and/or disqualified, a written notice will be mailed to you, listing the date when the sanction will begin. Let's move to the next one. If you wish to appeal a driving sanction, you must file the appeal in the Court of Common Pleas within how many days of the department's notice? A. 60 days of the mailing date. B. 10 days of the mailing date. C. 30 days of the mailing date. D. 15 days of the mailing date. Nailed it if you said C. 30 days of the mailing date. The law states that the appeal must be filed within 30 days of the mailing date of the department's notice. Let's move to the next one. Surrendering your driver's license prior to the effective date of your suspension. A. Will not start the sanction early. B. Will reduce your suspension by half. C. Will eliminate the restoration fee. D. Will start the sanction early. If you said A. Will not start the sanction early, you are absolutely correct. This is because surrendering either of these items prior to the sanction effective date will not start the sanction early. Let's move to the next one. If PennDOT finds your registered vehicle was not covered by liability insurance for a period of 31 days or longer, what is the penalty? A. Your vehicle will be immediately impounded. B. Your driver's license will be revoked for 1 year. C. Your registration will be suspended for 3 months. D. You will face a mandatory fine of $1,000. The correct choice here is C. Your registration will be suspended for 3 months. The reason is, if PennDOT finds your vehicle was not covered by insurance for a period of 31 days or longer, your registration will be suspended for 3 months. Let's move to the next one. If you are caught operating a vehicle without insurance, your driving privilege will be suspended for a period of A. 6 months. B. 3 months. C. 30 days. D. 1 year. The correct answer is B, 3 months. According to the manual, in addition, if you operated or permitted the operation of your vehicle without insurance, your driving privilege will also be suspended for a period of 3 months. Feeling confident after this one? That's exactly where many applicants get surprised. Next up, Part 6 with another set of real exam-level questions. See if your score holds up.